UFC 298 is done. This is my almost immediate reaction to the event. And of course, we have to start with the main event. We have a new UFC featherweight champion of the world, Ilia Topuria. Congrats to him, of course. Knocks out Volk in round 2. And just some more reactionary thoughts here. I mean, that shot, that overhand right, or that right hook over the top, it didn't seem like a very hard shot, right? And Volk has been in there with some of the best strikers in the UFC, and he hasn't been knocked out like that before outside of the Islam fight, and that was a head kick which really hurt Islam's leg. So what that makes me think is that Volk went into this fight a bit too soon. I know after the Islam fight, he wanted to get back in there. He wanted to get back into proper training camp. He wanted to stay active. But I'm beginning to think that it was just a bit too soon. I don't believe that shot would have knocked him out before he took the Islam fight. The Islam fight that he lost. Well, the one that he clearly lost. So I hope Volk does take some time off. I hope he heals up. I hope he comes back as good as new. I just don't think he was as durable as he usually is. And you can't train for that kind of thing in camp. People are not trying to knock you out in camp, really. At least that's what I would think. So, yeah, I hope that he recovers well, and all the best to him. Moving up the card, the co-main event, Paulo Costa versus Robert Whittaker. Now, Paulo Costa has always been a favorite of mine because all of his fights are just exciting. They are barn burners. He walks forward. He does his best to knock people out. However, Robert Whittaker, on the flip side, I am a fan of him. I'm a fan of his fighting style. However, his fights somewhat can be a bit, let's say, kind of boring. His fights can be a bit boring. That points karate style isn't really my thing. However, in this fight, from the time he walked out, he was game. He had his mean mug on, his mean face on. He was ready to rock and roll, and he brought the fight to Paulo Costa, landing a lot of shots that were hard, but not really hard enough to hurt Paulo Costa. Who did I want to win the fight? Because I'm a fan of Paulo Costa, I think the guy is hilarious. I wanted him to win. I thought he did the most, let's say, maybe damage. Yes, he ate a lot of those calf kicks. However, that wheel kick that he landed at the end of round 1, if there were no rounds in MMA, he would have won this fight. But there are rounds, and that's why he lost. He had that was his opportunity to end the fight right then and there. And unfortunately, it was too close to the end of the round. However, from that round, it was Robert Whittaker all the way. He outclassed him on the feet. And Paulo, from the time that I've known him as a fighter, I've always begged the TV, screaming at him, mix in some wrestling, mix in some grappling here. Use your jiu-jitsu. We saw in his Luke Rockhold fight that he has really high-level jiu-jitsu, high-level wrestling as well, and he just doesn't use it. And even when he strikes, he has this particular tendency to just throw one shot, versus other prominent, let's say, strikers are known to use multiple combinations, meaning they count for longer than one. Right, they are throwing 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and Paulo Costa doesn't hide his shots. He basically just throws wingers. I mean, granted, that new high kick that he's been doing, it was so quick. I don't even know how it happened. Right, so he's really good at single shots, but he has to start mixing in the wrestling, mixing in the jiu-jitsu, mixing in combinations, not just one-shot wonders. That's the only takeaway that I have from that fight. Congrats to Robert Whittaker. I mean, that was a well-earned win. He walked through the fire. His face was a mess, but he came there for war and he entertained us all. Moving up the card again, Henry Cejudo versus Merab, and what a fight that was as well. The first round, I was like, damn, Henry is bringing it. But then something happened. I think Henry may have broken his arm, and that pretty much was the end of the fight after round one. He didn't really do much since then, and Merab obviously took advantage of that, showboating all over the place, doing a choke on Henry whilst talking to Mark Zuckerberg, picks up Henry for that particular takedown, holding Henry up and walking across the octagon, embarrassing Henry like that, showboating. And Henry Cejudo is a gold medalist Olympic wrestler, and he was carried across the cage and dumped on his ass, right? It was embarrassing for him. However, the reality is he was hurt, he was injured, and he didn't quit. He kept on trying to do something. However, you can't fight with one arm, especially not with a style like Henry's. And it was really unfortunate that he got hurt. I would have loved to see the fight without an injured Henry, not taking anything away from Merab, but the fact is Henry was hurt at around round two, and from there the fight was over. And he did say that he was going to hang it up. He was going to retire from MMA if he lost this fight. And I was expecting him to do so after the fight. My honest take on this is Henry, I feel, is too small for the weight class, and he has no business being in 135 pounds, nor any business moving up in weight after that as well. So that's my take on that one. Oh, and the fight between Jeff Neal and Ian Gary. Okay, that fight was actually after the Henry fight, but I kind of forgot about it because it was a little bit boring. Pretty much because of the style that Ian has, like he runs around a lot. I'm not a fan of that kind of fighting. And the crowd also didn't like it. They were booing and booing and booing as well. Nothing really much to say there. It was a close fight. I also thought that Ian won, but yeah, there isn't really much to say about that fight. I will say one thing though. It was really strange having the camera focus on his wife quite a few times leading up to the fight, and at one point she put her tongue out, and it was a bit weird. I don't know whether they are trying to set him up to be like this villain or something. I did watch UFC Embedded, and I saw him, his wife, and his son. They look like a wonderful group of people. He looks like a great dad. I don't know what the deal is trying to make them seem like they are these weird, evil people. They seem like a great young family, and I wish him all of the best. Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. I think that's how you say his surname. What a fight that was as well. Roman hits like a truck. That first kick that he landed on Hernandez hurt him. You could see Hernandez react to it. However, once Hernandez got him down to the ground, my thoughts were, he's a Russian. Russians know how to wrestle, right? But this Russian, I guess he's more of like a striker, and he doesn't really have that much grappling. And Hernandez just schooled him on the ground. He took his back, tried to actually choke him out in the beginning. I don't think his first choke was under the chin, and it was tight, but I didn't think that Roman would actually get choked out on that. But then he let Roman have some space, and then he pounced on him again and sunk the choke in deep. It was over. He knew it was over. It was a beautiful performance by Anthony Hernandez. I have never heard of him before until I watched this fight, and man, UFC middleweight division is so stacked. And I think that's it. That's the end of the breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed the UFC event today. I'm looking forward to UFC 299, Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera. And now I'm out of here. Have a great day.